Hello, it's Kathleen. How are you this evening? Um, so, welcome to Level Up Your English with me, with at Kathleen Mayleaf. Excuse me. um, yeah, so this is episode 6, and we'll be talking about words, and we'll be examining what I call the wonderful world of words in English. And the main reason I say that is because English is one of those languages that has this whole concept of nuance, and nuance being slight changes in tone, um, variations on a theme, to use a musical term, um, that really add tremendous depth and a richness to the language, to the thoughts that we say, to the information that we convey. And not every language has that, so many students find it difficult to deal with that concept. So anyway, tonight, before we get into this too much, I wanted to say don't forget to like, subscribe, and get the notifications. All right. So, all right, the first thing I want to do is actually what I'd like you to do is in the comments or in the chat, let me know if your language has this idea of nuance. So, do you have many words that say not simply the same thing, but words that look at the same thought or idea or thing from different angles? Let me know that in the chat, or like I said in the comments, because that will help me to direct tonight's live for you. And so, all right, what I have encountered is so far the languages that I've studied, they have had this concept of nuance, and not to the extent, though, that the English language has. And so, as I'm studying Korean, I'm finding that Korean doesn't have that concept. You have to sort of figure out all the details from the context of the conversation. So, and I'm finding that to be difficult because I'm so used to having this abundance of this, to me, it's clarity. To people who speak Korean, to them they're used to it. It works for them, and there's clearly no problem with it, or else the language would have developed differently. But for someone coming into that, I don't even know what the word is for that. Again, and it's interesting. I like to find the right word for the job. And if I don't have the right word, and it's probably because English is my native language. I have grown up using this or having this, wealth of descriptive means in front of me at my fingertips at all times. And so it's become a part of who I am. It's important to me to find just the right word to say exactly what I'm thinking. And so if you'll notice, I don't speak as quickly as many other English speakers or many other speakers in general. I'm always thinking about the word or the words or the phrases to express clearly what I want to communicate. And I know this frustrates some people. And so just know that that's where that comes from. It isn't that I don't know what to say, it's that I am looking to say it correctly in the best way possible. And that's because I have an abundance of words in front of me to use. So many people get confused by this. Even other languages that have a degree of nuance may not have the same degree that English does. And what you need to remember is that the English language has had so many influences on it. And actually, I'll put the link in the comments or in the description. There's a wonderful video by the people that do the TEDx talks. It's called TED Ed. And there's a wonderful video on the origins of English. And it's not very long, but it really gives you an understanding of the complexities that entered into the English language through all the various influences on the language over time, the way the language developed. And so many of my students say, "Oh, why are there so many exceptions? Why is this sound spelled 10 different ways?" Or, that's an exaggeration, but why are there so many ways to spell this one sound? Or why are there so many ways to say this combination of letters, or etc.? So, the word could, or the OU, there's the famous little, ditty about, not a ditty, but people say, through and thought and thorough. They're all that same combination, but they sound different. It's because of the languages that influenced those words. And even though the sound might be the same from the different languages that entered into the picture, their rules of spelling applied differently. So each word might have come from a different language. And so those rules of spelling, etc., remained. People got, if the particular influences came in because a certain area of English speaking people were taken over, conquered by a different people who spoke a different language, and then that language became prominent, it worked its way into the English language of that region. And then those people may have gone someplace else, or another people who spoke a different language may have come in, kicked the other people out and come in. And then those influences became part of the daily speech, etc. And so you end up with generations of people who didn't know what the original way was. So so please understand that English is not difficult. It's not complicated simply to make your life miserable. It's developed that way over time. And so understand that. And again, you asked so many English speakers about, well, why is that? Sometimes we don't even know. More often than not, we don't know where the influences came in. We just know that's what we've always known. And so we just learned it, either because those were the examples and we just copied the examples, as you're growing up before you learn to write. Or we learned it in school and we were told it's just an exception, just memorize it, So, and that's one of the reasons I find English so fascinating, is because of all these differences. And I love exploring it. I love discovering all the differences. Now, before I watched that video that I referenced, it is definitely called The Origins of English, and it is by TED Ed. So if you're trying to look it up now, that's where it is. But I will look up the video and put the link in the description. But I didn't know a lot of that stuff. I didn't know that we had, I don't know if I didn't know that we had the Viking influence, and that's why skirt is spelled with a K, but other influences, I think that's correct, but other influences have school, SCH versus SK, so I learned a lot from that. And then everything seemed to fall into place for me and make so much sense. So remember that, okay? And that's another reason why this whole business of nuance is a reason why I say, make friends with your dictionary, really get to know, be familiar, look up words all the time. And it's another reason why I say make sure that you know what you're talking about. You might hear stuff, you might hear a certain word or phrase or whatever. Make sure that you know how to use it, that you've looked it up, and you don't just necessarily take people's word for it. Get many different opinions. You can ask the same question from many different people so that you know whether you're getting correct information or whether it's just that one person or a few people. I think I went off on a little tangent, but it is all related. So we're here live. Tangents happen. So I want to just look up my notes. Okay. Yeah. So what I want to do right now is to show you nuance. I'm going to take my trusty dictionary, and this is an exercise that is great for you, regardless of whether you're interested in the whole nuance thing or not. It's a great vocabulary exercise, again, because there are so many words that have so many meanings, or I lost my train of thought. It's great with the English language, because we have such a wide variety. It's a great idea to look at your dictionary and build up I call it your vocabulary bank. It's like every word you look up in your dictionary, you're making a deposit into your vocabulary bank. And so the wonderful thing about the vocabulary bank is that you can withdraw those words anytime you want, but it never depletes your balance. Your balance in your vocabulary bank can only increase. You're never going to run on empty when you pull out your words from the bank. So definitely do this. I find it fun to do. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to do a combination here. The exercise is just open your dictionary to any page and find a word. I happen to have flagged a few because I want to show you what a treasure you have when you have many words that mean similar things or that look at the same thing from different viewpoints. I want to show you how it changes and what a difference it can make, and how it can help you to really really be noticed as, whoa, wait a minute, she's not saying or he's not saying the very same thing in the very same way that everybody else does. When you choose your words correctly, or wisely, I should say, then people notice. When I first started teaching, in a school system, it was I had the 8th grade, and it was the way the school worked is that there were, in the 7th and 8th grade, there were 4 teachers, and I was one of the 8th grade teachers. And so we all had our own class, but we each had a specialization. And at that point, my specialization was math. Somebody else had English, and then science, and then history, and we switched. And so when I but we each had to deal with reading and things like that in our original classes. And so when we would read and when I would speak, I would just use words that I had learned from all of the reading I had done. And I love to read novels from, popular fiction from the 1800s and the 1900s. And so the language is different. It's an older language. It's a little more sophisticated in many ways, but it's also just a lovely way to say things. And I enjoy that. And so I've picked it up. And so I would speak and using these words, not thinking about it. And we'd come to reading, and the kids it would make them notice. And some of them started initially to make fun of it. Oh, you're so old, teacher, whatever. Not being disrespectful. That's American. The American classroom is a little less formal than some, a little more formal than other countries. But they came to really appreciate it. And there were these 2 girls, and they were super tough. I mean, they were tough kids, uh, good kids, but they grew up in an area that they had to be tough in order to survive. And as I say, I wouldn't have wanted to meet them in an alley in the middle of daylight, um, because they were that tough. But at the end of the year, this when they were 8th grade, which meant they were no longer going to be in that school, they were going to graduate and go to high school. They stayed. Seniors, the graduating class, got to they graduated a week before everybody else, and so they they didn't have to be in school the last week, and that was my week to clean up and redo the classroom and whatever. And they actually stayed just to talk, just to help out, to be around. And I said, girls, what are why aren't you out with your friends and relaxing? And, why did you want to be back in school? And they said, we just wanted to talk to you. You use big words and we wanted to learn them. And so that was just so wonderful to me, that without even realizing it, just because I had chosen to pick up a bigger vocabulary and learn different words and different ways to express things, that affected these children, these 13-year-old kids. And they were now going to bring that into their lives. That is going to make their lives better. So the same thing can happen for you when you start broadening your vocabulary. And you don't have to use what they called big words all the time, but you'll have them in your vocabulary bank to use when you need them. So it never hurts to just have it there and use it if you want to, or don't use it, or use it once in a while, because it's going to make your life better and you're going to end up being noticed for it. So this is what I do, again, to get back to the issue. So I just pick out a word. So this word that I found is descend, Descend, and it's a verb, and it means there's 2 different meanings here. There's one that means to come, go, or to slope down. Okay. And the other one means to stoop to unworthy behavior. All right. There is actually a third definition. It says it's a phrase to be descended from, and it means to have as one's ancestors. So the people before you, you know, you are descended from your grandmother. Your grandmother is descended from all these other people before. So you are a descendant. Okay, descendant. So what I want you to see is the difference. So I've written down a sentence. The bride will blank the staircase. You could say descend. The bride will descend the staircase. She'll come down the staircase. Okay. Now, what happens if you say, that's fine, she'll descend the staircase. But if you just use the word come down, she'll come down the staircase. That's okay. She'll go down the staircase. She'll slope down the staircase. That doesn't really work. However, if you said, where is it? Okay, so yeah, she'll move down the staircase. She'll decline the staircase. That's not that's not used in a situation like this. It would be used in others, but not in this. Not commonly nowadays, we'll say. What happens if you say the bride will drop down the staircase, or the bride will fall down the staircase, or plunge down the staircase, or sink down the staircase? It changes the meaning. You get a completely different vision in your head. So depending on the type of, if you're writing a story, or if you're trying to be funny, if you're trying to be ironic, or things like that, it really makes a difference. If you want to be more elevated in your speech, you would say the bride will descend the staircase. If you just want to, if that doesn't matter for the situation, you can say she'll come down the staircase, or she'll go down the staircase. That's fine. But adding the word descend, it adds a fluid elegance. In that case, you can envision the bride with the gown, and it's just flowing. She's descending the staircase. Versus, oh, the bride will go down the staircase. That's more utilitarian. That's more, step 1, step 2, step 3, versus that visual. Okay, so you see what happens when you have all of these words to choose from. And clearly, if you say the bride will fall down the staircase, well, that's a problem. Okay, so it changes the meaning, and it adds such a richness. So the second word I wanted to look at is report, REPORT. So this one has a bunch of different definitions. Mainly it deals with giving an account of, or in a news capacity. All right. So, okay, the first one, give an account of. The second one, tell as news. The third one, make a formal complaint about. I'm going to report you, to the FBI or whatever. Reported to their leader, whatever. So here these examples here are definitely a situation where you have to gather the meaning of the word report from the context, which is what many people who speak other languages are familiar with, so that wouldn't be a problem for you. But here, so I have 3 different sentences. So the first one is, and if you notice, it's about a reporter. So a reporter is someone who gives an account of the news. All right. So if you could say the reporter reported the tragedy in great detail. Okay, reporter reported. That would be awkward, but it's valid. What happens if you say the reporter described the tragedy in great detail? That's kind of different, isn't it? Or if you say the reporter gave an account of, the reporter recounted the story in the tragedy in great detail, related, told of the tragedy in great detail. They all have a different feeling, a different sense to them. Just like the bride, she's either descending gracefully, elegantly the staircase, she's going down the staircase in a, checklist sort of a way, or she's falling down the staircase. Different feelings, different situations, different nuances. So you have all of um, those things to choose from that determine the feeling of the message that you're communicating. I just want to make sure there's not any others. Okay. The reporter announced the tragedy or broadcast. Okay. Um, the next example of report that I have is I have to write a report on our new product. Okay, that's fine. That's perfect. In this case, a report is, um, um, yeah, my goodness, it's a description and an account of a record. I have to keep a record, or it's you write a report for a class, or it's basically a statement. But it could also be an article, a bulletin, a feature, an item piece, a story, things like that. So you putting any one of those other words in there changes the circumstances of the statement. So if you said, let me just write, I have to write an account of our new product. An account of it, what does that mean? You need a little bit more information. Are you writing, is this a financial account or something else? I have to write a statement about our new product. I have to write an article. I have to write a bulletin. So an article is a longer essay piece, whatever, that tells about the product, or maybe there's a story behind the product and you're doing an article on that. Maybe there's a scandal about the article and you have to write a report on that. Or the product, I mean, and you write an article on that. A bulletin is just a quick, oh, here we're releasing a new product, or XYZ company is, developing a new product. And so there's your bulletin. It's just, and that's why they call it bullet points, because bing, bam, boom. It's just quick, and it's more just, oh, here's some basic information. Just letting you know, that kind of a thing. And then finally, the third example I have is where the word report means it is an explosive sound. And we don't hear this word, I don't hear it used often in modern English. But again, in the stories that I used to read, you would have heard it a lot more. And it's a little bit older usage, but it's still clear. It's still clearly valid today. So what did I just say? I'm sorry. An explosive sound. Well, you might hear it. So what I have is the witnesses described the report of the gunshots. So, but if you just used the bang of the gunshots, that's not as exciting, is it? The witnesses described the blast of the gunshots, or the boom. Gunshots wouldn't really have a boom, so maybe cannons or something. The witnesses described the explosion of the gunshots, or, well, shot of the gunshots wouldn't make sense. But, the report of the gunshots has a different feel than the bang of the gunshots or the blast of the gunshots or the explosion of the gunshots. So it really sets up this whole, it sets the scene for you. And it, again, it just gives you so many options. And here's one I've gone beyond. So you can see I'm passionate about the discovery of the words and the language and everything that it opens up to you. Very. I wanted to show you very, because everybody uses the word very for everything. Oh, that was very good. Oh, she's very nice. Or, the report was very creative, or the report was very creative, things like that. It's a word that adds emphasis, but you don't think about it, and it's most often a filler word, and you don't need to use it, because a lot of times we're using it with a word that is already emphatic, I suppose is the word I'm looking for. Again, it's not exactly the word I want, but it's close. So here, very. It's an adverb, which means it describes a verb, or as an adverb, which an adverb describes a verb. It means in a high degree, extremely. Okay, so it was very hot. Doesn't sound the same as it was extremely hot. See how sometimes words can be weak when you rely on them too much, or when you could be using a better word. All right, so it was very hot versus it was extremely hot I hope you can see the difference there. And then it also means actual or truly. So, and I use truly a lot, and I've learned to start replacing very with truly. I'm truly grateful for your help versus I'm very grateful for your help. I'm very grateful for your help. It sounds generic, whereas when you say I'm truly grateful for your help, that makes you think, that makes you pay attention, that makes you think that that person really means it. Okay. Let's see. So very also means it's the absolute, either the best or worst, or it's again, the ultimate of its thing. So, a very high frequency. So on the set sound waves and stuff, the sound waves had a very high frequency, or there was a very high frequency of thefts during the Christmas season at the mall, things like that. Let's see. Very well is an expression. You can say, "Oh, how are you doing?" "I'm very well." That adds an emphasis to it. Or usually, if we're saying, "Can I go ahead with that?" "Oh, very well." Okay, that's another way to use that. But okay, so the thing I said, the student's report was very good. Okay, fine. That says something to you. But what if you said the student's report was especially good, or exceedingly good, or extremely good? So can you see how expanding your vocabulary and pulling in, using the words at your disposal rather than relying on the same few or the words that everybody else uses? Can you see how using the words in your vocabulary bank make your communications richer, more deeper, and more interesting, and more clear and more complete? So, again, this is I wasn't exactly sure what I expected to be delivering to you today. I just knew that it's important for I think it's important for you to understand with English, especially if you're coming from a language that doesn't have this whole concept of all these words, which to the naked ear just say the same thing. I wanted you to see and to experience what a treasure you have at your disposal now that you're learning English. So there might be things that you've felt or wanted to express in your language and can be expressed beautifully in your language, but now that you're learning English, it opens up a whole new way of expressing those same things. And it gives you all of these other opportunities to express it more closely to what you're feeling or what you're thinking. And I just find this an amazing journey and a wonderful adventure to go on. And it's just so exciting to have all this opportunity. And this is just a little dictionary. This is just my travel dictionary. Again, you can see how well used it is. It's all worn off here because I'm always using it. It's even got all my coffee stains. This one has been with me since 1994, I think. So anyway, just really give yourself a shot. Take 5 minutes. Pick a word from the dictionary and follow it through. Read the definition and look up all the different words. So, for example, here I opened up the word and I have hinder, which is a verb, which means to delay progress of. And then there are all these other words that also mean something similar. So you have balk, Baulk, delay, foil, forestall, frustrate. Look each of those words up, find out what they mean, and see how it differs just a little. And then try to make up a sentence with the word hinder. And then, like I did here, substitute all of these other meanings, now knowing what they mean, and try to find the best way to say what you want to say with that sentence. And then put the results in the comments. Let me know how you did. I will go through the comments and I will give you pointers. I'll tell you if it's wonderful, what I think of it. Honestly, I will give you my honest feedback because I'm not here to just, hold your hand and say, oh, now that's wonderful. You're doing great. And then lead you astray if there's something that can be corrected. So give that exercise a shot. Put your comments in or put your results in the comments and tell me what you thought about how did you feel about it when you started, and then how did you feel about your results? Let me know. I'm excited to see what you come up with. So, all right, I know I've gone on longer than I like to. Um, I like to keep this within a half an hour, but as you could see, I could talk about this all day long. So anyway, I just wanted to give you that introduction to what a treasure you have in the world of English words. Okay, so again, questions, let me know. I'll be going live again this afternoon at 12 o'clock Eastern time. So if you're watching me at midnight, you're probably on the other side of the world from me. But if you want to come again, they're live, so you'll learn something new each time you watch it. Okay, so I'm so glad you could be here, and give this a shot. You just really will. You really be amazed at what you find. Okay. All right, you have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow. We'll see you later on or definitely next week. All right, bye-bye.